Getting into a fascinating part of this, everybody is talking about humanizing the technology, bringing the human back, making sure we don't lose the human, all of those sort of things. And the task of telling us how that can be done sits with Rupert Nicolay, Director, the Industry Advisor, Worldwide Financial Services at Microsoft. Thank you very much for making yourself available, Rupert, and also again for your sponsorship. Human and agent, turning technology and AI growth. Very interesting topic. Thank you very much.
So the event team got me sorted out for the mic here, but I haven't spoken to the mic. Because while I was getting suited up there, I was thinking about, thought back to my old days, my maths class at university. A terribly annoying maths lecturer spoke in a squeaky voice with 200 people in the room. He dared ask him a question that might call you out. What are you asking about? No harm, bro. Anyways, of course, we had like students who moved around. What we actually did is swap out just before his lecture the mic with the mic for the lecture theatre upstairs. So what happened is when he went on stage, the guy upstairs was lecturing us downstairs, and he was lecturing the guys upstairs. So a lot of amusement. Anyway, today I'm here from Microsoft. I'm not going to dwell too much on the mega trends, because Dr. Tias has done a great job of actually giving you some of the mega trends today. But there are two I'd like to call out before I go into my session. And those two are really, we're moving from a world in which the AI that you use is moving from being super reactive. So by reactive, I mean the way you interact with AI today is mostly by coming up with some kind of prompt, pushing that into a system and asking it a question and getting a response. And what we're moving to is a slightly more proactive AI, which thinks through and engages and looks at processes and starts, actually working on things without necessarily you initiating that prompt, first action. Or it might be a follow-on from what you've asked it to do. And then the second thing, which kind of plays into that agentic world, is to say that the AI is starting to take actions on your behalf. So those are really the two big mega trends. And as I kind of focus in on my topic today, I'll highlight there's some of those and touching some of the activities I'm talking about. The topic is human and agent, and actually what I'm taking on here is really a specific look at the distribution channel, the agents, client advisors, the brokers, distribution centers, and outbound contact centers that most of you are using in your business today. And for most South African insurers, direct actually means contact center typically receiving or making outbound calls, slightly less around like a purely digital experience. So there are people in the mix no matter what happens. And for the most part, our customers, insurance customers in South Africa, want to achieve a few things with those folks. They want to make sure that they stay compliant, sure. And then secondly, they want to drive more sales through whatever channel that might be. And then they have some technical considerations, like what is the turnover of staff in that cohort of people? Is my intermediary force perhaps getting older, which has always been like a long-standing problem? I think those of you in insurance transformation Africa, there's like a picture of graying of the broker population. Probably is a real thing. I mean, I've been in the insurance financial services industry for many years, and I saw the same graph like 20 years ago, given to me by McKinsey when I was working at Old Mutual. So, you're in terrible trouble. Everyone's 55 or 60, and they're going to be out of the industry soon. It seems like 20 years later, we didn't all kind of die, and there's still some intermediate business going on. But the question is, how do we actually potentially empower some of those people who are working in those frontline roles with AI today? And I'm going to give you some kind of insights into the challenges that those folks face and some of the things that are being done today by our tier one insurance companies. So first off, there's high turnover in many of these roles. So particularly in the direct roles, but it actually also extends right through to the tied agency forces that many of you are employing today as well. So there's frustration around, how do I bring people into these roles? There are many systems to navigate, and sure, the Nirvana may be to come to a really modern product admin system with some of the wonderful features that you've seen on the screen, Graham, this morning. But of course, the reality is that there's a customer master system today. There's some kind of checker system or compliance and AML, and there's another system, another system, another system. And most times in the distribution part of the business, we're not actually in control of all those things. That one's got a six-month roadmap, and it's getting upgraded. That one's got a 2-year roadmap. So we've got to work with in terms of helping the customer through the people that are employed in that channel. And then it's quite slow often in the sort of higher end part of the market to actually interrogate what is landed in terms of requests from customers. So this could be anything. It could be a schedule that's been sent to you by the customer. Say, could you quote me on something similar to see what you can achieve? It could also be KYC documents that have to be analyzed. In the more business end of the market, it could be financials, schedules of assets which have to be underwritten, and so forth. So getting the information out of there is somewhat slow. Of course, capabilities are making their ways into product admin systems today to enable us to speed that up. But it's something which many of our intermediaries are struggling with. And then it can also be quite difficult to maintain client continuity. So we are struggling with, many customers we have to deal with, and then all of a sudden there's a request that comes in from one of them, and they expect us to know what the last interaction was, what the interaction before that was, all the context in order to service them nicely. And we also don't necessarily know what the quality of some of the conversations that are being held is. So that could be up through our contact center. We can sample a few and see what they look like. That could also be, in terms of the review that's taking place with the client advisor with the customer, annual review, the upper end of the market and so forth. How good are those? How much information are we getting out? Are we just getting the kind of hardcore information? Client wants to retire at age X, client has this problem, client has that problem. Or are we getting some soft information, one of those types of things? And then nearly all of you, I think, probably have some kind of next best action type of solution. It's a traditional sort of machine learning model. It says, hey, key toward X and Y. These are great prospects to buy, Z. And it might be okay. That's based on historical experience and so forth. But often the way the message lands is quite poor. Just like, do you want it? No, I don't want it. That's it. And so that kind of delivery is definitely not very personalized. And the conversion rates as a result of work. And then going back to the kind of staff turnover challenge, there are knowledge gaps in some of the folks that are there working on those frontline roles. They're complex product rules. They can't always answer those questions quickly. So that takes time. That causes friction with the customer. Also, we missed a lot of knowledge that's actually out there in terms of the best staff we've had interacting with our customers. So the intelligence of how to deal with a customer in certain circumstances is often lost and is only perhaps known to those top performers within our business. So how do we capture some of that? And then ultimately, there's just a high cognitive load asking these folks to capture this, capture that, capture the full outcome, and so forth and so forth. So they just kind of overwhelmed with the number of systems and so forth they have to deal with. So I want to give you kind of a glance at some of the areas that we're working in with customers. This is rather pivoted towards our tier 1 large-scale insurers rather than kind of small-scale insurers. That's the market that I'm working in with my colleagues across India. So really kind of on the role onboarding and skill development side of things, we're trying to get to the point where we get people enrolled and effective quicker. And also we can, deliver better and targeted skills interventions. The skills interventions are, we put you in, intermediate university for 3 weeks or something like that, and we kind of dump you out, maybe we get a buddy or something to help you out. Can we do better than that? Can we improve the advisor's access to knowledge? So can we make it quicker to get there? Many have done things in that space, and I'll give you some insights on what's been done in just a moment. And can we perhaps also, look at what the advisor is doing and intervene, make suggestions as to how they can improve their productivity through the day? And then in terms of improving the customer interactions, the reduced effort, I mentioned interrogating what's been supplied by the customer, or perhaps people be a broker responding to corporate underwriting or something like that. With reduced effort is a key area as well. So can we get to fast turnarounds? Can we actually set the right expectations with customers in that space? Can we get the information out, capturing whatever system we need to do to quote or carry on the onboarding process? And then can we also perhaps surface the conversations that we had with customers previously more easily, so that it appears like I've got the context and intelligence from just having to put down the phone with you or just finish my previous interaction, which might have been 3 weeks ago or 3 months ago or something like that. Can we kind of build in some better empathy, those customer next best action discussions, improve the conversions from a couple of percent, 5, 10, 15%? And then can we perhaps direct customer requests to the most appropriate channels so they get help fast? Because we're all trying to do this with various mod-based services and so forth. But I give some kind of insight into what some of our customers are thinking about. Finally, this is the today world, but I would encourage you to also think about what customer expectations are into the future. So probably most of our customers today are using consumer AI services, and they're questioning that consumer AI tool about pretty much everything. And so our customers, our insurance customers, our banking customers, private wealth, investments, and so forth, are concerned about the situation in which that type of consumer AI possibly knows more about the consumer than they do through the history of transaction interactions with that customer. Could that lead to a richer level of interaction? Give you a simple example. I use a consumer AI tool, upload my MRI scan and say, hey, did the radiologist get it right? Is the report okay? It does a pretty good job of assessing it. I've done it. And it does a pretty good job of assessing it. So a few days later, I'm chatting to it about my investment. I start saying, well, I'm not sure. I might do this kind of wrap product, found that product, or I might put it in like a term deposit. And well, great. But after seeing your MRI scan of like a few days ago, I'm not sure that a 5-year kind of long product is the best decision for you. And is the customer going to share that level of information with the intermediary? Maybe not. So, in the days when I was kind of working to be Channel 4 Mutual, one of the things we did find is that people answered the medical underwriting questionnaire much more truthfully if the intermediary didn't ask the questions. If we could actually get the contact center to queue up with someone faceless in the contact center, make an outbound call and ask them to respond to the underwriting questions, we got a much more truthful set of responses. So that anonymity can sometimes lead to higher degrees of truthfulness when folks interact. Okay, so what is it that's actually done to kind of solve some of those challenges now and achieve some of those opportunities? So one of the things is with onboarding, there's been quite a lot of effort that's gone into AI-driven onboarding capability. And so it's really about skill development, learning, and so forth, with something which adapts to the level of skill that you have. And so we've already been doing this inside of Microsoft quite effectively. So when I'm having a discussion with one of you one-on-one, that discussion is preceded by me having role-play type discussions with an AI, which says, this is what they'd like me to answer. I actually have an avatar, I respond, I get a critique at the end of it, and then I get a personalized coaching plan, which says this is what you're going to go after. So that's already happening. I'll show you one example that we're actually doing with customers. I would say maybe 30-40% of my customers are doing something in that space today to up-level the old school training capabilities they have. Next door is to say, can we look at all the interactions that the intermediaries, the direct contact center agent, a high-end intermediary that's there, and look and see and ask AI to assess the quality of the interactions that are taking place. And that assessment could take place from a compliance perspective. So be one agent appointed from an AI perspective to assess compliance. There could be another assessment to say, did I engage the customer in the best possible way? There could be another to say, are there particular product gaps and features that I have that are super frustrating to my customer? Customer's expecting this, product feature doesn't allow, customer is frustrated. Third agent you might have busy doing their setting. But from the advisor's perspective, can we then look at all those interactions and can we say, here's the plan to improve on the interactions? And so this, I would say, probably 70 to 80% of my customers have something going on in that space. And it filters through and manifests in different ways. Some are, in fact, scoring each intermediary and giving an insight into kind of how well they're doing. Others are giving kind of checklists back to direct sales teams, managers, that's how you can improve. Others are summarizing the interactions and then feeding back from an internal audit compliance perspective to see what's happening. And then yet more are doing things like interviewing their best performers in role and adding that to the knowledge base that the agent has and using that to offer a critique as well. So you spoke to the customer, they're incredibly frustrated, there's just been an incident, so forth, you could have handled better from this perspective. Or to corporate customers, the person involved there, you could have handled it better. And so all that's happening is the AIs, the agents doing this work, checking, are being exposed to knowledge which comes from interviews and so forth that took place in those meetings. So high quality from an access to knowledge perspective, knowledge bases and access to this kind of information for agents, absolutely probably 80% plus have this deployed as well. So that's some kind of internal chat service. Such and such and happen. Customer missed 2 premiums. Are they still within the premium holiday? Can they cover what level of coverage they have in the premium holiday? Yeah, can I answer those questions? Very much so. They haven't been super sophisticated up to now, but they're starting to get more sophisticated. And we're starting, as Microsoft, to make it easier to connect up to different sources of that information. Mostly it's been a static pool, PDF document, pointing to SharePoint library. Very straightforward to do. White check SharePoint library today and say native knowledge agent. What we're trying to do is to make it easier to access knowledge bases which are more dynamic and changing. So you can point it out, content relates to the customer, relates to kind of very late breaking information. So that might give you kind of latest rates, whatever it might be, and yearly rates might be taken in as well. So those are kind of key capabilities that are there. And then customer interaction with reduced effort. So I think, once again, we look at 70, 80% plus deployed, some kind of mail thread summarization and drafting. All this could also be part of a recording that's taking place in the contact center. AI-based extraction from customer provided documents and data, very hot topic. And some have gone the route of creating an agent which is just dedicated to extracting certain types of documents. So there's a scheduled extraction agent. Another customer bank used to build a bank statement extracting and credit memo drafting agent very successfully. So what it does there is just putting information out there, summarizing, analyzing, drafting up the summary, things that come out of that. And then it might give a little table of information that represents what has to go into your product admin system, system of record, quoting system, whatever that might be. So those are certainly pretty widespread. Document creation, personalization, probably 30, 40, 50% region of folks are doing something else like that. Here, it's about saying, can I move from kind of that report that might come out of a financial needs analysis tool if I'm a higher end advisor, and can I actually personalize that in a way that's going to resonate more with the customer? So can I point to AI at some of the soft information that came out of the conversation? Can I give it the report? And then can I get just infuse some of that in there? And it might just be putting in some examples which are relevant to the customer instead of just having kind of a, yes, you want to retire at 65. It's infused with examples of what you want to achieve at that time. And then, as things expand, some of those capabilities have been connected directly to CRM systems. We're trying to make it easier into product admin system, but Staples is one. So can we actually wire it in? Can I ask customers specific questions as well into those types of systems? And perhaps can I even jump in and listen to the conversation between the customer and the advisor and offer in-conversation support with them? So that's like a little further out there, I would say. And then, in terms of enhanced customer understanding, customer briefings and preps and so forth are all part of it in terms of prepping the advisor dynamically for the discussion with the customer, annotation of the next best action items. Once again, can be very light personalization. If you're looking to move from a 1% conversion rate to a 2% conversion rate, some light personalization to achieve that, double your productivity of your sales effort in some of those models. And so we're seeing actually better results from some of that come through. And then kind of thinking further ahead, we do have somebody thinking, okay, well, how does it work in the future with consumer AI channels, the expectations of my customers and so forth? And one response that I'm working with one or two customers on is, can we have this digital assistant, which is providing all these capabilities on the left to the advisor, built in such a way that that digital assistant can in the future be exposed to the advisor's customers. And so what you're getting is a somewhat personalized AI that the customer can interact with that does some of what a higher-end advisor's assistant might have done previously. But it's different to your faceless, like one-size-fits-all bot that exists for your organization, because that bot is going to serve everybody. The advisor-specific one knows about every conversation you've had with that advisor. It's infused with that intelligence. It jumps and snaps right into the level of the conversation. So it's off one technology platform, but it's an instance which is kind of specific to the advisor. And I don't think about it as being faceless. So kind of bring the two together. And I think it's quite an interesting one that we see there. And then finally, could that advisor then be really stuck in a world that we can't do much around the legacy system that the advisor and the advisor's assistant have to work with? Can we ask for the AI to automate those interactions, take over computing use? If you've been following what Claude have been doing and so forth, their co-working capability, they've been doing something in that space. So I mentioned, advisor productivity. These are some of the general tools which you might have in place as well from an agent perspective to support your advisors, onboarding extractor, putting information on documents, client intelligence agent, and an ask it about clients, product eligibility and optimization agent, that knowledge-based services me about that, but then also some general HR capabilities, employee self-service, advisor personal development, and so forth. So those are the types of capabilities that might span the organization, you might purpose specifically in some cases for the advisors to use. So just mentioning one example, so Ageas, a forward-thinking insurer that's headquartered out of Belgium, but actually operates right across Asia. They have a lot of flexibility in Asia to go marketing ways, in the Indian business, Asian businesses, high turnover, advisors involved. So they've been working on exactly that digital coach type model that I mentioned. So it's actually an AI avatar. It does coaching. It's tailored to how the advisor did in the previous interaction, and it's also infused with some intelligence about the interactions they have with customers to optimize what's being done. So with that, I just want to wrap up. So right at the beginning, I said, from a megatrend perspective, we at Microsoft focused on two things really that I think are interesting to do today. Making AI more proactive. So I gave you one example there. Just watch all my conversations. Tell me where I'm going wrong. I'm not prompting you. Just watch them all and give me a summary on how I can improve my professional development as an advisor in the week. No intervention required. No change, no required. Just give me the dashboard. So that's proactive. And then taking action, can it go and actually start doing things, booking meetings, taking actions, system capturing that. So on Monday this week, Microsoft announced a new capability called Co-Worker, an additional agent that you're going to find in your Copilot environments, hopefully in the next month or two, depending on what's turned on, what launches at what time. We're talking a fairly short period of time. So the idea behind this is to take on more responsibility than just giving you a simple answer in a chat-based interface in response to a question. And so when you look at this, think about your own productivity, but then also think about the concept of a co-work or digital assistant for your advisors in the channel, whether you can boost productivity there. If you can take that to 40, 50% higher, can you address the addressable market per advisor? Can that be bigger? What does that mean for your sales? Quality will snap to you in just a second. So here you are in Copilot. On the left, you'll find...
Let's use Copilot Cowork to handle it. Because it connects directly into Work IQ, it doesn't rely on connectors, which only captures fragments of data and lacks full context about you and how you work. You need the latest account updates turned into a briefing doc, usage and sales trends to dig deeper, and a presentation you can walk into the room with. That's a lot of moving pieces. Copilot Cowork doesn't just respond. It takes your full request, breaks it into tasks, and carries the work forward start to finish. But this isn't prompt and response. You can interrupt, steer, and add to it as you go. You remember you want to schedule prep time with your team and send a status update to the broader account team. Cowork folds it into the plan without pausing what's already in motion. It checks schedules and sends a meeting proposal your way, which you can book right then and there. Then it crafts the email, which you can edit manually and hit send, bringing the power of Outlook right into the flow of work. Now let's see what it put together for us. It creates a briefing doc packed with an account snapshot and everything relevant for the room. And it keeps to your original template formatting, a presentation that lays out the opportunities and your competitive edge, and a sales and usage breakdown with graphs and charts to back it up. All saved directly to OneDrive, so the content is immediately enterprise knowledge that's protected and ready for collaboration. While all of this is happening, Cowork is moving all your tasks forward at once, and because it runs inside Microsoft 365, security and compliance come built in. This is Copilot Cowork, built for real work.
A simple example there, not necessarily directly related to advisor, but you get the kind of concept that can be achieved in a similar kind of way in terms of empowering many roles in the business, in particular the advice role. Thanks very much. We're around at lunchtime to engage if you'd like to have a chat.